Welcome to the VFL Week 3 tips and tricks of who you should be picking up, who you should be getting rid of. Let's dive in. What we're going to do this week, of course, is talk about the three regions. We're going to start with Pacific. Now, Pacific, of course, only have 2 games left. Each team is only playing 2 games. So you're probably not going to want to actually, pick up Pacific players at this point. You're probably looking at your Pacific players as the ones that you either want to get rid of, but you can obviously keep them if they have good fixtures. So let's just quickly kind of go through all of the Pacific players and talk about, should you keep them basically, or should you get rid of players on these teams? So let's dive in. And let's start with DRX, who have RRQ and Global. Now, for me, that's probably like a keep for DRX. They had a big bounce back against Team Secret, winning 13-4, 13-4. Not very efficient with the VFL points there, just missing out on that cutoff twice. But obviously a big bounce back for them. This RRQ game could be tough for them, but, I think they showed enough to bounce back there. The same for RRQ. Of course, they play DRX, but then they play Team Secret. Kind of similar thing. Bounce back from them as well. So I would say probably a keep there for RRQ. Gen.G. Now, what's interesting about Gen.G is a lot of people, I think, from week 1, right? They saw the Gen.G fixtures and went, well, I can play the Gen... And I had this advice for people, right? You can pick Gen.G for these 2 hard games, and then you can keep them for all 3 of these games, right? And they play Team Secret, and you definitely should keep them for that game. But we have an interesting dynamic now with Paper Rex, where if you're like me and you've got Paper X players and Gen.G players, initially I was considering, well, I'll wait till Paper X plays 8th Division, and then I'll sell my Paper X players for this Talon game. However, and I don't know the answer to this question, and you'll have your own answer, what do you think is the easier game, or who do you feel more confident in doing well? Paper X against Talon, or Gen.G against Nongshim, who potentially will be playing for their lives? That, I think, now is actually a bit more of a debate, and I'm not fully sure which... I mean, this is a debate for next week, but I just want to bring it up as kind of an interesting one. Team Secret. If you haven't got rid of Team Secret, now is definitely the time to do it. Maybe you had some faith that they could beat DRX, but they play Gen.G and RRQ now. Get rid of them. I think they're completely gone. Now, Global and Nongshim play each other, so I think that those 2 are probably a keep for this week, and then they have a hard game in the last week. So I would say Global and Nongshim probably keep this week, get rid of next week. Paper X, obviously keep, and as I say, maybe you'll keep for Talon. Talon, this is your time to get rid of Talon. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of my 2 Talon players this week. They play T1 and Paper X. I ain't keeping them. They're a definite get rid, I would say. They're your priority get rid is Talon. T1 are probably a keep overall. DFM are probably a keep for this week against Boom as well. Zeta Division. Why have you got Zeta Division? And Boom play DFM and Zeta. If you have Boom players, I'd say you keep them. Personally, I know they haven't done well, and I know you're probably thinking, I need to get rid of these Boom players. But if you've kept Boom players this far, you might as well keep them for the 2 easy games. You might as well keep them for the 2 games that they might actually win, is my point, right? So, yeah, Boom, I would say, personally, I would keep them. Okay, let's move on to EMEA and talk about players that you want to pick up. Now, here's an interesting team, Giants. Right, because Giants so far have overperformed, right, expectations. So a lot of these Giants players will probably be a bit cheaper. So if you need a cheap option, they play Foot and Gentlemates. Now, of course, they do play Heretics in the last week. That's not going to be great. But for these next 2 weeks, if you want someone to get, right, you've got someone who's maybe a premium player that you really kind of like, well, getting a Giants player as your second transfer to fund that bigger transfer could be a good way of doing it, right? Because playing Foot and Mates, that's 2 winnable games, right, from what we've seen thus far from all of those teams. So, yeah, I like Giants as a pickup this week. I think if you're going to pick up Giants, it probably should be now. And it might help you fund, getting a premium, 15 cost, 14 cost type player as well. So, definitely for that. Obviously, Heretics should just be good the rest of the way. This is, not an easy game necessarily against Vitality, but, I trust them to win. Never a bad time to pick up Heretics, I don't think. Vitality probably avoid this week, I would say. But then afterwards, could actually be a pretty good pickup, like a Durker or less after that fact. Foot. Honestly, Foot might be a sell. If you don't have, Pacific players that you definitely need to get rid of, this Foot performance was so bad that if you do have Foot players on there, maybe you keep them for this Giants game, but genuinely, they might be a sell, which is kind of crazy to say. BBL is probably a keep. But you're not feeling great, but it's probably a keep. I wouldn't buy BBL necessarily, and same for Mates. I wouldn't buy Mates, but maybe it's a keep against BBL. I don't know. Liquid, this is your time to go in on Liquid. Liquid, this is the week. Kiko, in particular, is a player that, you know, is just frying, and a player that I'm going to heavily consider as well. Yeah, a very, very good choice. They do play Fnatic next week, but, you know, you got to get in now if you're going to get on Liquid. Same for Fnatic, really. You know, again, they've got Navi and Apex. Yeah, they got this difficult Liquid game, but, again, if you can pick up Fnatic, I definitely would. I think those two are probably towards the top of teams you should be looking at getting overall. KC played Koi, then Navi. So I would say this is a keep for KC. I know a lot of people picked up KC last week, and it actually went okay in VFL terms, but it's not looking great. Navi, I don't love at all. Apex, what are you doing? Why would you pick up Apex? And Koi, I actually think, again, similar to Giants, this is a time to pick up Koi. Look at those 3 games. They could actually win those games. Those are actually winnable games for Koi. Now, maybe you want to give it a week, see how they do against Carmine Core. You know, before then they play Apex, and you're probably feeling that they'll win that game, even if you aren't a big Koi fan. So maybe you want to pause it a week, but if you do have some faith in Koi, then now is the time to get in. And then on to Americas, which was basically just the Stomper region last week, which honestly isn't necessarily always the best thing for VFL. You know, it kind of guarantees decent points across the board, but not like amazing, you know, giga points, unless you win 13-0, which Sen did. So that did happen. Right, Cloud9. Looking at the rest of their games, this is probably, I would say, an avoid for Cloud9, to be honest. I think, yeah, playing Sen and G2, they could get some points, they could get some wins, but it's not going to be easy necessarily. So I would personally probably avoid, if possible, picking them up. Sen as well, like, Sen, you missed your chance, right? Last week was the week to pick up Sen. Now, it's still not a bad time to pick up Sen, but I think Liquid and Fnatic are maybe better options than Sen this week, to be honest. G2, it's probably a decent time to pick up G2, to be honest. You know, again, last week was as well, but I think Sen was a bit of a better option. This week, I would say G2 is maybe slightly above Sen in terms of your options there. EG, avoid, maybe until that last week. 2G, like, I've got a 2G player, and if you've got a 2G player on your bench, you know, like a cheap, like I've got Prize on my bench, for instance, this is a play, right? I'm going to play Prize instead of Mitch this week. I wouldn't buy 2G players, but if you've got them, play them. Fury, don't even bother. Although, again, if you do have Fury players, this is probably the week to play them, I guess. So, yeah. Maybe if you got them, play them. 100 Thieves. I love 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves are looking really, really good. And I actually think that MRBR are just in the mud. This is a great time to pick up 100 Thieves players. Like, if you want to go Asuna, Cryo, Cass obviously is very cheap. I think this is a perfect time to do it. EU is kind of popping off as well. Like, a great time to pick them up. Lev, I don't trust. Sato is a decent option, but I don't trust. NRG, I think, looking at these 2 next games, I would favor them. This is okay for NRG. I think NRG you can buy if you like them. Crew, I don't trust at all. And I've picked up Luxo, and I'm not feeling good about it, to be honest. I'm not feeling good at all. And MIBR, I would actually sell MIBR. I think they're honestly just lost. I think they are lost, and I don't think they're coming out of it, personally. I think I would literally sell MIBR if you don't have Pacific players that you're more kind of certain to get rid of. And now I thought we'd take a quick look at the top performing players as well in terms of points per game. So you do have Kiko up here on 16 points. Going to be a popular option, I think, in general. Sato, as I say, is kind of popping off. I think if you're going to pick up a left player, it kind of has to be him. I wouldn't really consider it. I mean, for 11 points, honestly, and they do have some games that they might be able to win, it's not that bad. I think you could consider it, although you might have missed the boat slightly. Woot, just a good pick. Oxy, of course. Again, C9's games are getting harder now, so I wouldn't expect this kind of performance going forward, but it's fine. May is kind of carrying DFM, but again, he is playing for, you know, a Pacific team, so you probably don't want to pick up too much here. Again, the Sen players, I think we've kind of missed the boat. Obviously, these are being inflated somewhat by winning a 13-0, so I wouldn't look too hard into that overall. And yeah, Crashies as well, with some very good performances for Fnatic. So for 9.5, you know, if you need like an initiator slot, probably is a decent option overall there if you want to go there.